Bring our audio up. All right, so we're still in the pre-show. And now that I stop the music and start streaming to Facebook too.
The music.
And let me get the recordings ready. So normally having a lot of rain like that, just inconvenience. But I was saying
Right.
I got water in the basement, and fortunately my son had stayed home from college. He said, I got some work to do. I'm just going to stay here and work on it. And I guess he went downstairs because I have some soft drinks in the refrigerator, and he fortunately went down to the basement to get a drink out of it. And when he did it, he was like, squash, squash, squash. Like, what is this?
Oh.
So, all right, we're recording there. And he said, Dad, we got water in the basement. And I told him where the shop vac was. And I said, all right, I'll be home after work, try and keep it up. And when I get home, I was a little shocked by how much water. The back part of the basement is a cinder block wall. It has, it's still a concrete floor, but I've put down the foam padding. I've made it like a gym. So it's like that foam padding stuff. So we had pulled all that up, and the water had made it into some of the carpet, but it just kept coming and coming. So I said, we got to suck up as much as we can. And we probably took 2 or 3 dozens of shop vac full of water out.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot. What it turned out to be, because I told him, you keep shop vacuuming, I'm going to go around the house. Why all of a sudden am I getting water in the basement? There's got to be something happening outside. I'm going to see if I can find it and stop it. So, or else we're going to be here all night. And that was Tuesday. That was Tuesday, and it was going to be raining Wednesday and Thursday all day long. So I went outside and found a chipmunk hole right up against the house that had, I guess because of the rain, it had eroded even more and got bigger and bigger and bigger.
What?
And that was what was causing it. So I dug up some dirt somewhere else in the yard, went and poured all kind of dirt into that hole. It wasn't a massive hole, but I dug dirt in there and created a little, slant away from the house. And after that, after we got the water under control, the next 2 days, no more water went into the basement. So
That's good.
Fairly convinced it was that chipmunk hole.
So it's funny that you had that happen to you because, we just moved into the new house, and over the summer we had, and I say funny as in not funny that it happened, but funny as in coincidence with something that happened here. We moved in here in April, and then along about July, we started getting, I noticed outside there was bees up over the door, and they're hornets going into a little part of the siding. And so we had exterminator come out and inspect it. I'm really allergic to bees, and we sprayed it. Nothing happened. So the guy came out, checked it all out, and yeah, man, I think I got them. And of course, 2 weeks went by, bees still coming out of this hole. Then we started finding them in the basement, like dead in the basement, all over, not just a couple. I mean, I think we cleaned up probably 150, 200 bees in the basement.
Wow.
And we couldn't figure out where they're coming from. We finally had him come back. They got through a little hole where our air conditioner tube goes through, and they had built all along the wall in our basement. And they had to, in our brand new house, and had to come and get them all out of there. But yeah, they finally got them, but it was a little freaky. Are
you allergic to the bees?
Yeah.
That could be
dangerous. If I
dangerous.
get stung, I get popped right out.
That could be dangerous. So one of the things you can do for chipmunks is put mothballs into their holes. They don't like that.
We do that for snakes too.
So
snakes don't like it.
There's one hole that was not leaking water into the basement, but it's like right where the cement garage meets the house. And so I was throwing mothballs into every hole I could find. So I threw several in there. And the next day I'm walking in the basement and I smell mothballs. I'm like, what the heck? Why am I smelling mothballs? And it must be that spot. Now, I can't find a hole that goes from there into the basement, but it must be close enough that the smell, because mothballs smell bad, must be close enough that it's going into the basement. The smell is, at least.
Wow. That's crazy.
So anyway, there's that.
Crazy stuff, man.
And maybe just quickly in the post show, we can talk a little bit about Fallout. I'm still in Fallout 4, and I'm at a point where every time I play, I get my butt kicked.
You need help, huh?
Yeah, I don't. It's just awful.
I just put my 76th hour into Fallout 76. You get a
There
little
you go.
award. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I'm up to like 10 hours in Fallout 4, so I got a long way to go.
Oh yeah, it takes forever.
Are you going to do any screen sharing? Do I need to be prepared for that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're good to go. I think I'll leave that to you.
All right, good. So I'm recording. If Jan comes in later, recording, and Jan made me another one.
She did.
She made me a second one that because I one time ran out of recording space. Maybe the last time you and I did this.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, it was during. I think Tim.
Okay.
Tim and you. Yeah.
So she made me a different color. There, Jan's here. Maybe a different
Nice.
color, and I did check that before the show started. So she sends them to me as a JPEG. I print them off and laminate them at work. I'm always looking for some reason to laminate.
Nice.
So thanks, Jan.
This is the pre-Thanksgiving show for those of you who celebrate.
Pre-Thanksgiving show. Yep. All right, AD, you ready?
Yeah, let her rip.
Let me get rid of that, and let me get the next shot ready. All right, we're recording everywhere. All right, this is jpeg2RAW photo review, show number 40. Wow, you were just talking in the pre-show. Can't believe it's already 40. And tonight we're going into the September images. We'll do 2 shows on September. We need to get caught up, AD, because for long it's going to be the best of 2018, the December images, and we'll go over those in January.
Yep.
Before we get started, let me quickly say how you can enter. You can go over to jpeg2raw.com/contest, and there's 2 links there to 2 green buttons that you can enter right from the webpage. Or if you scroll down just a little bit, there's the links to our 2 Facebook groups, and you can enter there. That's the easiest way. If you go over to the Facebook group, it's going to be the announcement at the top of the screen, and we already got some great November images coming in. Just like we did for October, the theme is open, but we're encouraging seasonal images. So we're getting some seasonal images there, AD.
Cool.
All right, and that's the regulars group. There's also, for the beginners group, you can go over there and enter that way too. All right. Did I not? I didn't show you the webpage today.
You just showed the green buttons, but that was it.
I did. Okay, so I did show that. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm a little lost.
It's that time of year, man. I'm telling you.
Yep.
Too, when you rang, I was just like, it was like a gong in my head. Yeah. It's like holidays are rolling.
Yep. All right, so let's get started. And tonight we're going to do the beginners group first, just like we normally do. Then we'll get into the regulars. And I have another one of my images at the end. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet, AD. I gave you. This is, I think, the first time we did a sport one. The second time I did an HDR one. Tonight we're going to do one I converted to black and white. I gave you the color version, too, if you wanted to see that. Cool. But let's get started with this one from Jade Cook. I know Jade has entered in the past, and Jade, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I don't think we've seen one from you lately. I remember Jade, is he down in Australia or somewhere south of me, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he had some really creative entries in the past. I remember one with a puzzle. Anyway, but let's talk about this one here tonight. Nice to see you entering again, Jade. So this one is... Jade says, recently went on a waterfall photography course. This photo was from the following day and was a big change from how I would normally photograph them. This one is Lower Kalamina Falls. Whatever. I'm going to say that wrong. He took it with a Canon 5D 2-second exposure f8.
Nice. So yeah, waterfalls are kind of my specialty. I live in the land of waterfalls here in the Finger Lakes region of New York. We have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of waterfalls, and it's great because we can get out there and practice year round pretty much, and it's always different. So winters are different and whatnot. So this one hits home pretty well, and So I will say this was taken during a wet time, which is good. When you're photographing waterfalls, the best time to shoot is when it's overcast, so you have nice even light, and just after a good rain. Just not only for the water flow, but also because the wet rocks just lend a really nice look to the waterfall and give you a nice dynamic richness that you don't get in normal conditions, in dry conditions. So if you want to shoot waterfalls, be prepared to get wet and get out there. You got to love water. I love to creek walk and get right in it. And this is a nice down low shot. I think it's great, Jade. The first thing that strikes me is a very nice composition with objects in the upper and the lower pointing to the leading your eye to the waterfall. One of the things that we'll talk about a little bit is the water itself, because where I see a lot of folks, we talk a lot, Mike, about composition, but I like to talk a little bit about color and processing too. This was 2-second exposure. Waterfalls to me are more magical the longer exposure you can get out of it. Some people will be like, I don't like those long, soft looking waterfalls, and that's fine. It's personal preference. Yeah. But to me, I like that real dreamy, when I see a waterfall, it's like, I just want to sit and enjoy the sound of the water and feel that fresh air that you get from the water and the air moving through that water being kind of atomized while you're watching it there. It always smells great, always looks great. And so it's one of those things that I want to draw the viewer in there with me. I want them to make them feel like they want to be there. And one of the things that we've talked about before in color processing is that cold, blues equal cold, and yellows and oranges equal warm. So I think this, to me, the image is a little cold. I am not a fan. In fact, I've been very vocal a lot of times with blue water, because it isn't blue. And a lot of times when we're processing for other colors, it can turn our water blue. You generally have to go in there and put an adjustment brush on them or something to get the blue out of the water. I know some folks process with the blue in there, but I've honestly been to many, many waterfalls, and I don't think I've ever seen the water turn blue. I've seen water, on the ground, on the lower plane be blue because it's reflecting the blue sky or the atmosphere. But generally, the water in a waterfall is usually either pure white or some shade of brown. And one of the colors that we try to get away from is the brown, obviously, because we don't want, a muddy waterfall. But the usually moving water is pure white. So, and I see there's some blown out areas here at the top, Jade. And that can happen a lot of times if you did shoot this in sunlight, which it does look like there might have been some sunlight up top. And that's just one of those things. You're there for this course, and you get what you get. But just know that the best time to shoot waterfalls is generally right after the rainstorm happens, while it's still overcast. You're going to get beautiful, rich photos. Your light's going to be super even then, so you're not going to have those blown out areas. The minute the sun shines, that white of the water is going to blow out on you in comparison to everything else. Other than that, though, I love the sharpness, crispness. I like the foreground isn't overbearing. It welcomes you nicely into the shot and then leads you into the waterfall. I think the thing to finish this off would be the processing and the color. I would like to see it a little warmer, make me feel like the sun is shining on me there, and I want to be there with you and hang out.
Yeah, he said he used an ND filter. I don't know which kind. So, and at f8, I guess he could have stopped down even more to get a little bit longer exposure, but it must have been fairly bright.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I shoot shots like this, so here's what surprises me is it looks like the image has been sharpened quite a bit. And I think that was because it was shot at f8, because really the log looks like maybe that first log coming out of the water is probably the sharpest thing in the image, which means that the waterfall is probably not sharp, because at f8 it would be impossible. Generally, when I'm shooting waterfalls, you can either I have done a couple of things. I've done focus stacking where I've shot at f8 and then shot for the foreground, the midground, and the background, and then put them together for the final shot. I do that with a lot of landscapes now, so that I get that hyperfocal all the way through it. Everything's in real sharp focus. Or you could have just shot this at, a lot of times I'll shoot f22 no filter, and I'll shoot at ISO 50. If your camera supports it, and I can almost get ND filter results in the overcast situations. I don't need to have my ND filter with me unless I want to go for a super long exposure. And then of course you got to mess with, your f-stop or that to get it stopped down to where the light is good. So I don't know. Yeah, we don't have any information about the ND filter on there. So, but yeah, it's interesting. It was a photography course on waterfalls. So they got the compositions smack on, looks great. It's just the post. Whenever you do these, I'll just give a little suggestion. Like the way I handle my workshops is there should be a pre-discussion about what you're doing, maybe a dinner or something where everybody gets together and talks about what the shoot's going to be about. Then there's shoot day, and then there should be a day after that you spend doing the processing together so that you can talk about why things are processed and what the achievements are afterwards. So hopefully they covered some of that in the post. And of course, you should follow people and try to do workshops with people who you enjoy their waterfall or whatever they're shooting. That's the way to go. So, yeah, I don't know what the case was here. So, yeah, reach out, Jade. I know you know how to get a hold of me. So,
Yep. And you can't get a hold of you on Facebook. So for those, we have Molly Morgan and Greg Crosdale watching on Facebook.
That's our holdouts.
I'm watching your chat. So if you have something to say to AD, you can post it there, and I'll work it into the show. He does see. You can see the YouTube chat.
I don't know if you asked those two to have comments about me, and it's going to get crazy. So,
well, I will filter what they say. So,
thank you.
I won't just let anything through.
Awesome.
All right. So that was the one from the beginners group. And so now let's head into the regular group with this one here from Christina Binge. And Christina says, I took this for the prompt signs of fall for my 365 project. I love fall, but it has come far too quickly this year. Yeah, especially I know you are already getting snow up there, AD. We're not getting down here. But yes.
We had 16 inches 2 days ago, and we're supposed to have another 5 tomorrow.
That sounds like winter, not fall.
That is winter, my friend.
But so this is Christina's image, and I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in the car, I just see these gorgeous scenes. Sometimes in my rearview mirror, sometimes out the window. I'm never able to capture them as well as she has here, and it almost looks like she's shooting it from the back seat. And we're seeing a little bit of the front seats there.
Yeah, and I know I can be hypercritical with Christina because she gets it. So for me, I guess I guess Christina, what I'd love to hear from you is what was your goal for shooting this way? Because I think the color in the just the leaves on the glass and the water on the glass, I think those two things are really what I should be looking at here. And I've got a car that's kind of, I don't know if it's a big part of the story, because I'm like, you're right, Mike. I'm in the back seat of the car, looking at a leaf out the front. So I'm not really understanding like where she's putting me in the shot, like where, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a story behind it. I'd love to know so that I could better understand it. Because and again,
she's out there, so maybe she can.
I'm a super average viewer. So if you can make me get it, then the whole world will get it. Because I'm like the last guy who's like, So I think that's one of the reasons why I have a success with doing the critiques, is because it's got to be real strong. for me to latch on. For me, there's a lot of distraction. There's vents, there's radios, there's steering wheels, rear view mirrors. I'm looking to see what's in the rear view mirror. And the story really is the leaf in the water on the glass, I think.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's see what she's got here. So I did it as a dual prompt, signs of fall and transmission. Okay, that's cool. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me then. If that's your narrative that goes with it. So
and she's also saying she did a shot with just the leaf and the water drops, and as well, but didn't like it the house being able to be seen in the background. Also, for me, if you took that shot of just the leaf with the water droplets on the windshield, you kind of lose something. That could be on anything.
Well, it could. So let me just address first, though, Christina. So make sure that when you're shooting your photos that you play dumb about everything, because you knew that was a house. I didn't know it was a house. Didn't even know. I just like the colors. And when you're taking photos, you really have to forget everything that's in the scene. If you're trying to shoot purposefully to get people involved in the image. So that's where the most successful photographers that I see is that they know everything that's in the scene and they put it in there purposefully. But like if it's a house and you know it, and you have to be able to unknow it and look at it and say, can you tell that's a house? Because I couldn't tell it's a house. I just see white and green. And, I think if it was focused tighter on the leaf, I wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
I want to see the little reflections in the. So that's me. I think she did well with the color. The composition is great. We've talked about that before as far as where the leaf is placed and that. But for me, it's got too much going on. I'm a very minimalist. So I'll buy the one from you that has just the leaf and the glass in it if you have that one. So.
All right. Up next is thanks, Christina. Up next is
Keep them coming.
This where am I at? This image from Scott Norris.
Scott Norris, what is he doing posting here? He must be bored.
Yeah. Scott Norris, who was on the show at one point. Let's see. He titles it "Leaf Bottle Rocks," and he says a tiny empty, which that's what it is: leaf, bottle, and some rocks. A tiny empty glass bottle, 3 decaying leaves, and 3 stones on a wooden table. So this was photographed with a single speed light flash camera left, fitted with a homemade diffuser to soften the harsh light, processed in Lightroom and Photoshop. My goal here was to have fun with and test my new flash and homemade diffuser. I wanted to see if I could create a look like Harold Ross without the light painting. And he's using a Nikon D700. Great camera, one of Nikon's legendary cameras, but at this point it's pretty old. It's an old 12 megapixel, but as you can see, it's not all about the camera. Scott using old gear, still producing some great works.
Yeah, I
love the lighting.
First off, I have to admit, I'm really biased. Scott is a walking advertisement for me, and I love him like a brother. We talk a lot. He was my student in the Arcanum for a couple of years, and I moved him after he flowered in the middle of it. Scott was kind of toying with going this direction and that direction, and through the Arcanum, we got him on a path, and he just took the ball, and he was basically my star player. And he became a master at the Arcanum and still is teaching people. And I'm very proud of Scott. I'm very proud to know him and very grateful to know him because he has turned into an amazing photographer / I say he's an artist. He will tell you himself he's a photographer second. He's an artist first. Mm-hmm. His photography is nothing more than a tool to get to the point that he wants to get to. And I honestly haven't seen bad work from this man in many years. So if he's out there, follow him, buy his works. This is all he does for a living, is this. So if you like something, buy a small print, buy anything from Scott. I don't want to sound like a commercial, but he so deserves it. His family deserves it. He is a true starving artist. So but he is an awesome individual. And yeah, this is, I agree with Christina. It's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Scott knows what he's doing, man. He submitted this. I'm sure he's sitting home going, I wonder what he's going to say.
Yeah,
and he's probably been nervous. He's probably been nervous the last 3 or 4 days because that's Scott. But and then he submits an absolute amazing image. I'll tell you, Scott, one thing I would have loved to seen you do with this, run with this a little bit more. Let me give you. We've had many discussions like this because this is how we work. He gives me creative ideas. I give him. I would love to see a little bit of your digital 3D rendered atmosphere in there, Scott, with some light, like a light beam or something coming from the left. Scott loves to mix 3D rendering with his photos, and he's made some fantastic images on his website, Scott Norris Photography. This is for a first attempt with your flash. And I'll tell you, I think he's using the thing that I like to use for a homemade diffuser, which is bubble wrap. Really? I don't know if you guys know this, but take a piece of bubble wrap and fold it in half and put it over your flash, and it makes beautiful light. It's gorgeous. I mean, don't go out. Sorry, Gary Fong. Don't go out and spend, $75 on a Fong sphere or whatever they're called these days, or do. It's up to you. But try the bubble wrap. I'm telling you, it's really amazing how good it looks.
I've never tried that.
So I think he's using that. So
we had Scott on the show to talk about various things, but one of the things we talked about when he was on the show was his 365 project, which he took, like Christina's doing a 365 project. If you want inspiration for a 365 project, go look at Scott. You mentioned Scott, ScottNorrisPhotography.com, and look at his 365 project from a couple years ago, I believe it was.
I think Scott will tell you too that his first thing is don't do a 365 project.
He probably would, yes. So I admire Christina for doing that.
Do a 52.
Yes,
do a 52.
That sounds hard enough. And and Scott did one too here, but he took some ordinary objects from around the house, mixed in with other things, but some ordinary objects around the house that he just made gorgeous images with it.
Yeah, go down to the antique store. Yeah. I mean, this right here, go down to the antique store, buy a 50-cent little medicine bottle, grab a couple of leaves out of the backyard and a couple of stones, and throw them on a piece of wood, and boom, you got a cool scene that's gorgeous. Yeah. And it all comes down to his post-processing and his light. I mean, Scott was a realist. His stuff was he was really striving when we first got together to shoot landscapes and for realism. He was very much about color and all this stuff, and it had to be look real. And he just kind of, I don't know. I had a thing. I call it like my midlife crisis, but it was really like it was when I got my divorce from my wife. I had a Harley Davidson that got in an accident, and I had it all chromed out. It was beautiful, and I got hit with it on it. I was on the bike, and when the insurance claim came in and they paid for it, when I rebuilt the bike, I just went nuts doing a full custom, like handmade, did it all myself, and it was like this chopper when I got done with it. But it's just like that thing snapped in me, and I was just like, I'm not going to have the chrome and all this stuff, and the textbook motorcycle. So I think it's interesting. We kind of related on that fact that his creative snap just hit, and now he's running with it, and everything I've seen has just been amazing. So we love you, Scott.
When I had my life-changing event a few years back with cancer, I was hoping that would be some kind of catalyst. Somebody asked me last week, how did that change your life? I was hoping that maybe that'd be a catalyst and I'd all of a sudden become really creative. Yeah. It's not done anything. I'm the same Mike as before.
Yeah, Mike, it's
not that I want another event to try and change me. I'm
no,
fine with
absolutely
no other event.
Not. But I think it's important to know that it's good to learn the mechanics and technical side and getting it right.
Yeah.
Getting it right in camera. I think that's all important. I never have said to anybody that that's not important, but there is a point where to be the artist that you want to be, you won't make photos to please me. You won't make photos to please you.
Mm-hmm.
You make photos to please yourself. And that's the important thing. So, when you submit to these critiques, in the long run, take what you can away from what I say and what you say, but you don't have to change your style and what you're doing. If you're happy with what you're doing, you're going to do your best work. So that's really what counts. And, I had that point in my life where I was just like, I was listening to a lot of different people and they were giving me advice and sure, I was processing photos that were technically like, yeah, but they were just there. They weren't really, they didn't grab the attention of people. So I just started like getting into my photos. I started trying to climb into my monitor and what would it be like if I was there, and was it like when I was there, and what do I want to show people that it was like, or do I want to create a mood?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I process with the colors and tones and things that I do, is because it makes me happy, and it hopefully other people see it and they have that, if I'm doing a spooky photo, it gives them the creeps, or if it's a pretty photo, they're like, oh man, I really want to be there, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really important that you folks, take what you want away from this stuff and run with it, but leave behind what doesn't work for you, because in the long run, it's about you being happy about what you're doing.
We're just giving our advice, not saying it's any better than anybody else's. Hey, one question.
It's not a game review, that's for sure.
That's true. One question about this image before we leave. So Scott did 3 leaves and 3 rocks. I know you often tell us do things in threes. Is that why Scott did the 3 leaves and 3 rocks?
No, actually, I think here it is about, if you look at the scene, it's very balanced. Mm-hmm. And you've got 3 on one side of 3 objects against 4. So he really wanted you to notice the leaf in the bottle. So by putting the bottle on the left and having the group of 3 against 4, we have a tendency to look at what's hitting the light there the most. And so it's an odd number of items in the scene. That's what's important. I wouldn't count it 3 leaves, 3 rocks, although he probably, was thinking more about the number of objects, but not, exactly those numbers.
Okay.
And I could be wrong. You'd have to hear it straight from him on that. But it does have an odd number of items in the photo to look at, and that's kind of. And he made a single of the main subject. If there were 2 bottles in the shot in the same configuration, this shot would not be this powerful. Yeah. It's this powerful because there's 1 bottle, and then the other objects are evenly numbered. So he's made that, the one that stands out, right? The solo. Mm-hmm. So he's really exemplified that without us even knowing it. It's the single item in the image. It's the largest. It's catching the light. It's in the third. So it shows you, it's right in the compositional area. So he's done all those things to basically put that bottle in the star, position. And then he did the toning and whatnot to bring the light out on it. So it was all calculated.
Yeah, it's just incredible. He's done this with just ordinary junk around the house, the yard.
Yeah, and he does it all the time. It's a wonder to look through everything you see in his feed. He lives in Milwaukee. Everything that you see in his feed, if it's not a photo from the art museum or the city itself, is all in his house, objects that are just in his house. That's all it is. So when you go and look, that's the amazing part about that. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, for contributing. We love seeing your images.
Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Yeah, so keep doing it. All right. Up next is, there we go, is our friend Millen.
Hey, Millen.
And Millen says he took this image in the morning. The light was very nice, and the rose did catch his attention. He took 5 shots focused on different places on the rose, and then focus stacked them in order to get more details. Processed in Photoshop and Lumenza. Lumenza, we've never mentioned that before, but that is Greg Ben's product, that an add-on for Photoshop that we
Lumenza. Yeah.
Lumenza, yeah.
Yep.
He ordered he ordered that to get this red color. And there you go. That's what he did. So this is a focus stacked image of a rose.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think it's the color right off. We talked about this a lot, Mike. It's definitely difficult to get that red not to,
Saturated,
bleed, too saturated. This looks very natural. One of the best color processes I think I've seen from Millen so far. And I love the focus stacking. I just kind of wish that there was a little bit more negative space. I'm not a huge square crop fan. I'm not an Instagram fan, folks. Just sorry, I never bought into it. Even when it was on Instagram, I actually would crop my photos so that they were still. I'm like, you're cutting off important things. So yeah, I'm not a big square crop fan, and the only reason is because if you notice, like the flower is very targeted, but there's like competing negative space surrounding it in all directions. And we usually want to, if we don't have leading lines, we want to have negative space opposite our subject so that we basically go, oh, that's negative space. There's nothing to see there. We automatically look at the subject. So here it's like, all the way around it, which for me is not good composition for me. I would like to have seen it, even if he moved the rose a little bit more down into the lower left and kept it a square crop, he could have still done that. But the focus stacking and color, like I said, some of the best work I've seen from Millen to this point. So he's definitely rocking it. And this is nice to see him try something different with the focus stacking. So
yeah, good job, Millen. Yeah. All right, I can't wait to hear your opinion on this next image because it does. There's some parts of it that actually bleed over into one of your favorite games, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And that is this image here from Chris, if I mess up here, I'm sorry, but I think this may be your first image that you've submitted. This is Chris McHaney, and he says, this is a photograph of a recent shoot for a mid-century modern home in Memphis, designed by Francis Ma. They shot for the Southern homeowners. Every room in the house was unique, including the master bath that had a pesto bismol pink floor. That sounds awful. And what? I don't know. What
iridescent black
wall tile.
Yep.
Shot was taken with a Nikon D7200. Let's see. 5 different shutter speeds. He used Photomatics to blend the images. Yeah, so this is the HDR shot. He used Photomatics to blend the images and then a preset that he has to tweak it in Lightroom.
Well, this is...
So does this give you a little bit of a feel of Fallout? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so actually, I'm so encompassed in that lore of that game that we're doing mid-century modern in our house now. Mid-century modern is making a huge comeback, and we love it. We just bought some of these really cool folded single laminated chairs that kind of fold around themselves for our kitchen. We're always looking for furniture and whatnot in mid-century modern, and I absolutely love it. But this photo, it hits very close to home. I was a real estate photographer. I shot for Airbnb for a long time. This photo by them, and please, Chris, take this with a grain of salt. I'm going to help you to be the best real estate photographer in your area, but this photo would have been rejected. And the reason why is because it's very dirty. It's dirty HDR. There's a lot of haloing going on. It is easily identifiable as HDR, and that's the one thing in real estate that they will shoot you down in a heartbeat if it looks that way, because a lot of top folks who aren't shooting HDR are bringing in special lighting and everything else to make these $1 million homes look, unbelievable. But you don't have to do that. You can still shoot HDR. You can reprocess this photo, and it will absolutely blow the real estate people away with it. And the reason that you're getting this look is because you're probably processing in 16-bit in Photomatics and letting it tone compress. This image is very dark and flat, and generally in any type of real estate image, you want the image to look not dingy, which these walls look dingy to me from the HDR. You want them to look bright and airy. To me, this is underexposed, and it needs to, the lightness needs to be brought up in it a little bit to show the true colors. And the only way you can really do it is with 32-bit HDR. And there's a free video on my YouTube channel, Chris. If you watch this, look up 32-bit processing using Photomatics. We skip the process of tone compression and go right into Lightroom to get a very natural looking image. And I've photographed, several multi-million-dollar homes with this process to show the true natural light. And this looks very synthetic to me, and I immediately identified it as HDR and a preset in Photomatics because I've seen them a million times. So,
and you did a sample of that to the last show, I think, with my image.
Yeah,
and showed how big of a difference it makes.
Yeah, and it does, because the idea of HDR is not to, especially in real estate or real estate, it's real. Is to make it look real, and the minute you use a preset, or even their realistic presets are not realistic. I'm not sure who they got to set those up, but if you try the 32-bit, you'll see that you get back a very wide image that you can bring out the light in all different areas that you need to. You can paint in the light where you need it, make it look very natural without any of the halos that you're getting like in this image. I would love if Chris would reach out to me with his brackets. I would love, Chris, to make a video for you and show you exactly how to process this image, and maybe give your workflow a kick in the pants and get you much higher paid jobs. You can, I'm not sure what you're getting paid now, but trust me.
There's money to be made there, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're having to do something, AD, with either lighting or HDR because in his image where you can see the outside through the windows.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the things you're having to do there, is to balance to make the inside look well lit and still get the outside to show up? You're going to have to do either lighting or HDR. Yeah,
and the best time to shoot is on partly sunny, partly cloudy days. Around high noon is the best time to shoot the interior. Mornings or late evenings are the best time, depending on the face of the house, are the best times to shoot the exteriors, because you want to get a beautiful look on the house. And you also want to, if the house has a beautiful view, you want to capture a beautiful view outside that you're looking at to sell that house. When we moved in here, it's interesting. This is a gorgeous house. It's got a gorgeous setting. And for the first 3 months that we were here, we were blown away at how there was a beautiful sunset almost every single night, and they never showed any of that when we were purchasing the house. Of course, it made us feel, the after effect was that it made us feel like we got a big bonus out of the whole thing. But it would have been nice if, it would have been a huge selling point, I think, for them if they would have shown the house with these beautiful sunsets that happen because of the Great Lakes and where we live. We get beautiful sunsets almost every night that, there's sun. So, that's always important in real estate. But I would love to help Chris get this image and maybe his other images to where they need to be so that he can demand, some good money. He's done some good things here. There are a few things around the edges that I would be careful with too. Is
like the right side.
There's something on the right there that looks like an entertainment center or something. And there's looks like overhead lighting on the left upper corner. You're going to want to frame that stuff out or in enough that we can tell what it is. And that's where real estate is difficult, is getting the right angles and the wide enough lenses without distortion, which is very difficult. Bathrooms are the worst. Yeah. Because real estate people, keep in mind, you're locked to photos in the landscape format. Not a lot of people know that, but most real estate companies do not want portrait images. So when you shoot a bathroom, it becomes very difficult to shoot a bathroom without turning the camera sideways. You need an ultra wide lens, and then you need a profiler, a lens profile that straightens that all back out in Lightroom. My go-to lens was a 15 millimeter diagonal fisheye, which is essentially set up so that when you go into Lightroom and you apply the lens correction to it, it straightens all the lines right back up. That's what a diagonal fisheye will get for you. I think Sigma makes them for most major
brands.
major cameras. But that's an excellent lens for real estate. But I'd love to help you out, Chris. Introduce you to my community, and first one's on me as usual. Any of you guys who want to submit images to me and get a tutorial, that's I'm more than happy to do that, because I share those tutorials with other people who learn from that as well. So it's beneficial to everybody, and it kind of gets people introduced to my Patreon community and see how I work and all that kind of stuff. So.
And Chris, if you don't know how to get a hold of him, is theexplorographer.com, and we'll show that at the tail end of the show too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on jpeg2RAW, you can always shout me out on there, and Mike will get a hold of me and let me know what's going on.
Exactly. So if you can't remember any of that, just email me or contact me, and I'll pass it along.
Cool.
All right. Up next is this one from Gina Clark.
Oh,
sorry.
Very nice.
Sorry, Gina Clark. And Gina never gives us much information, but her work.
She's a mysterious lady. She is.
Her work speaks for itself. The title. All I got here is "Love Is," and I know someone asked her how she did the hair, and I don't recall if she ever shared how she did that with the hair, but it's just a gorgeous image of a child, an infant here in this hair setting, holding her up. And I don't know if Gina is charging people for her work, but she should be.
She better be.
She better be.
She better be, or I'm coming over there, Gina. This is a beautiful image and excellent creativity here. We've been pushing Gina and telling her all the time, and she's another person. And I think we talk about Amber this way and Millen this way, who submit every week, and I'm seeing them take their creativity to another level. You got to go out to the edge if you really want to find out what's out there. You often hear, like, think outside the box, and it's true, because outside the box is where all the creativity is. It's just hard to get out there sometimes, because we're pretty happy with our boxes, and we grow up our whole lives living in houses and all this stuff. Maybe if we didn't live in a box, we would be more creative. I don't know, but I think that's one of the things we talk about. My girlfriend and I talk about a lot of time is we have friends who don't travel, and they seem to be pretty cynical. and we've traveled a lot, and we've met a lot of different people, and we're kind of more open. And I think this shows in creativity as well. Creativity, you got to get out there. You got to put yourself out there. And try different things and try new things, and that's what this is what Gina's doing here. So, I really like this. I think that's might be hand drawn, even, Mike.
Really?
It looks like it might be like a pencil drawing or something. I can't tell because it's very small resolution.
Yeah.
For us, but either way, it doesn't really matter. The treble clef is beautiful. I'm sure that if the parents are musical, they're just in seventh heaven with this. So
I'm sure they got it on
great
the wall.
Work, Gina. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Great image, Gina. Always love seeing your work. All right. Up next is this image from Norman Schultz.
Hey, Norman.
And he says this was shot on this was shot in full-on bright morning sun. Birds are my main subjects in the urban area where I live, and they make a great practice for these special times when I get away to areas with better wildlife. So I guess the birds in his area are good practice for when he gets out to other birds.
Yep.
And a couple people I would say, I mentioned somebody last show, that Nikon ambassador, Michelle, I'm not going to remember her last name, who's just fantastic. Two other people I'm going to mention is I forgot one of his names. Steve from Backcountry Photography.
Okay. Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah, I've watched a few of his videos.
Yep. And now I know Norman says he shoots Canon. He's a Nikon guy. Steve is Steve Perry. That's his name. He shoots Nikon, and he goes really deep into all the focus and everything there. But he also gives a lot of tips on everything else. He's a great wildlife person. Somebody else who shoots a lot of birds that, Norman, you might want to look at is Mark Smith. He has a YouTube channel. He's, I think, based in Florida, but he travels some too. And he shoots with Nikon also. And I think recently, maybe his YouTube channel is making a little more money. I don't know his finances, but he's gotten some better glass recently. But before that, he was shooting with one of the lenses I have, which is a Nikon 200 to 500. So 500 is nice, but it's an f5.6, and it's what, $1,300-$1,400. So in that range, it's still $1,300-$1,400, but it's not that expensive for that range. And watch Mark. He takes some amazing bird photos and has a lot of good tips you can watch. There. For me, I'm wondering if Norman did this. We had this last show where he cropped in pretty heavily on it.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure that may be the thing. I'm seeing quite a halo around the outside of between the blue of the bird and the background too. It's I don't know if you're seeing that on your monitor or not, Mike. For me, it's mostly about the angle, though. I'm not really happy with the way I would like to see the branch be a little bit more diagonal rather than straight up and down, and kind of like it's very noisy through the middle of the photo. And again, with the negative space on both sides, when we talk about composition, you should check out Norman, if you're out there too. Another person to check out is the illuminatinglens.com, which is Lynn Wazicki's site. Yeah. She's an incredible wildlife photographer, and she does landscapes and all that kind of stuff too. And Lynn's a great person because if you reach out to Lynn, she will work with you. She's awesome with that sort of stuff. She's also one of my apprentices, and she's another person she's now my my right-hand person, and she runs one of my websites for me and
awesome.
And does an amazing job. So that's it's called the illuminatinglens.com. If you want to someone it's accessible. I'm sure the other guys are too, but I just more the merrier. So.
I don't know how accessible those other guys are. Yep. So if Lynn's more accessible, yep. the more the merrier.
Yeah.
And he said, full bright morning sun. He says that in chat on Facebook. That always makes it tough because you can see the breast of the bird is on my screen here. It looks like it's blown out.
Yeah, really hot.
Because of that harsh sun, which is going to make it difficult. Oftentimes in the mornings, and he says morning, so in the afternoons when you get a little bit softer light is when they're coming out to feed. They like to feed in the morning and in the afternoon, and you might be able to get something better in the afternoon. Yeah,
blue hour, golden hour, those are always good. I mean, light is your friend, and it's one of those things. There can be too much of it, and this does look a little hot to me. So in any time, Norman, don't be afraid. This goes for everybody out there too. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. You ever want to see what I would do with the image? Feel free to get a hold of me, shoot me the raw image. I'll make a little video. I mean, that's kind of my jam. That's what I do. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to share, and you can easily it's no skin off your back. You can watch the video and go, yeah, that sucks. I don't like it. And all you're out is the 5 minutes you watch the video. So,
even if you think that though, AD, even if you do it for Norman, he looks at it and goes, what is he talking about? This sucks. I like my image better. I have found, if you want to talk about where I have skills, it's in Excel. I'm fairly skilled in Excel, but I learn from people all the time when I'm watching somebody and they do something. I go, what did you just do? And so even if overall I feel that my Excel skills are better, I learn from people all the time from things they do watching that. So even if you get something back from AD and you don't like the way he edited, you may do something, or you have ideas like, wow, that's really powerful. I need to look into that and do something like that.
Right.
Norman says he probably over sharpened it a little too much. Yeah, sharpening can easily there's a line there where you can start to sharpen it way too much, and it can be tricky. So zoom in a little bit and look at it, because if what do you recommend as far as zooming in 100% when you sharpen in there, AD?
Well, I think generally it depends on how big you're planning on printing it, or your expectations for print. Because honestly, if all you're ever going to do with your images is put them on the internet and they're never going to be printed, then pretty much doesn't really matter what you do. Because I saw something the other day which blew me away, where somebody was like shared an Instagram photo and we're like, this guy's an amazing photographer. And I'm like, So all you've seen are images on. Well, I'd like to see some of his stuff like printed and big, but he doesn't do that. It's just on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, they might be pretty images and they might be well processed and well composed, but it comes down to like the complete package too. Before you endorse somebody, make sure that they can be printed, because ultimately, it's a really cool feeling when someone buys your photo and puts it on their wall because they had a connection with it. Don't underestimate print, and especially print your own works and look at them, because it's way, way cool, first of all, to see your work printed. And there's something about printing an image that, the first time I did a gloss image on fine photo paper, one of my images, I just sat and just stared at it for like an hour because I was just like, this is amazing. But you got to be careful with noise and things when you start printing larger, obviously, because at some point you're going to start to see it. With birds, a lot of times I like to use the sharpening and the masking feature in Lightroom, so that it basically doesn't, like, if you use the masking feature, it wouldn't sharpen the blue, so you wouldn't get noise in the artificial noise in the sky, but it would only sharpens by way of the contrast of the subject and around the outside edges of the subject.
In which program?
In Lightroom.
Yeah. The masking thing, I use that all the time. I think on a PC, you hold down Control or whatever it is, or Alt.
Alt, yeah.
Yeah, and you can do the slider. And yeah, definitely there's no reason to sharpen the blue background back there.
Norman, I see you're out there in YouTube. Yeah, man, reach out. Seriously, I'll put up a Dropbox file folder for you and make you a video. That's what I do. I love it when people submit stuff to me. Gives me things to do. And then, I'll ask you when I give it back to you, I'll ask you if it's okay if I share this with the community. And you can say no. You can just say, no, I don't want my work shared. I don't want people to see what you did to my photo or whatever. That's fine. It can be a completely private thing just between you and I. But I will help you with that and see what we can do. He says he needs help with his editing software to learn it. And the best way is to watch somebody use it and then ask a few questions afterwards about, hey, how did you do that one part? And usually in my videos, I will walk you right through how to do it. So, and why. So
yeah, Jade Cook, and the first image we went over tonight, talking about how he went on a workshop or whatever for the waterfalls. Yep. And we don't know whether he had a part of that workshop included editing, but to me, like you mentioned, editing is almost as critical as the shooting. That you can, it's a weakness for a lot of people, including myself, is the editing skills. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing a day, Norman, just learn one little part of your program a day. That's all it takes. And, I tell a lot of people, if you have a workflow and a piece of software and it's working for you, just throw one thing in there. Try a setting, when you're finished with your photo, save it, and then go in and try a new setting and see what it does to the photo and see if it changes it the way and you'll learn something new from that. So.
Yep. All right, last image before we get to mine is this one from Daryl Harrington. Where's Daryl?
It's a famous image.
What's his name? There he is, Daryl Harrington.
Los Angeles.
And Daryl says, my first and only night in L.A., on only a couple of hours of sleep, I had the bright idea to head into downtown L.A. to capture some light trails. This is an HDR shot processed in Aurora.
Yep. Cool.
And it looks like he definitely used a wide angle lens here that's giving a little bit of distortion to some of the buildings. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm
but
sure.
I love these light trails.
Yeah, so this is a pretty famous place to shoot. Actually, most people shoot from that second bridge.
Okay.
Right ahead, and the reason
why
why
you're getting a curve in the road or something.
Yeah, because there's a curve that goes right into the city there, and a lot of people cut out this sign and that. Just the way that the tower and everything lines up there in the back. So, Daryl, if you're out there again and you shoot, try that other bridge. The second bridge is the one that's pretty famous for this particular shot. There's usually a lot of photographers in this area during the nighttime, because it's. I've seen no less than probably 5 people that I know who've shot from here. So.
I said that about the distortion of the buildings, but maybe I'm wrong. I was looking at the one on the left, the darker building. as I'm looking at the ones down the road, they look okay.
Yeah, and he probably used somewhere between a 16 and a 35 millimeter lens here, I would imagine. For me, one of the things I would probably suggest is just anytime we have buildings or anything that leans back, we minimize the subject or the person viewing the photo. We make the person viewing the photo feel small. So a lot of times to not make buildings seem ominous or have this evil presence, we usually try to give them a more upright stance. We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. You can't go too far upright, because if you go too far upright, then it starts to look like a Dr. Seuss shot. But you could straighten this out a little bit and not have that everything leaning back so much. And that happens with a wide angle lens. When you tilt the lens up, things move back. Mm-hmm. When you tilt the lens down, they come forward. If you shoot straight on, if you're perfectly level with your horizon, those buildings should all look fairly straight. So, and I think that's another reason why they shoot from that front bridge, because you can open up to a wider lens, shoot level, and you don't have a palm tree that gets in your way. You don't have the road sign that gets in your way. But yeah, it's a fun shoot, always fun to do. Did a great job with the HDR processing on this, Daryl. So your processing is usually always top notch anyway. So we don't talk about that, but I want to mention that you always do a nice job with the color and everything too.
I like that you got the moon in the shot.
Yeah, it's hard to do without it making it look like a sun or something, because the moon just doesn't cooperate when it comes to nighttime photography very well. Most nighttime photos that you see generally have a big moon in them are two shots usually.
Right. So. All right, that is it for the images for this month. Well, for this show, we'll do one more show with the September images before we head into the October and try and get caught up. But I'm going to do another one here with my shot, AD. So
all right,
let me get to that. And before we get to that one, or let's go on to it. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. So I wanted to do have a black and white one for you here tonight. And I do have the color one if you want to look at that one too. And for me, I do a lot of sports photography, and I don't just get the athletes. I like to get some of the spectators, because you can often find a lot of emotion going on in the sidelines, or in this case in a dugout. Either interaction between themselves, or if it's a parent who is, into the game of their child or whatever else. Mm-hmm. And this girl was just having a great time watching the game. And I don't know what was going on in the field whenever this scene happened. But I took the shot. It was with an 85 millimeter, if I remember right. And the fence actually is a little bowed there. So this wasn't a wide angle that was causing the bow. This was 85, especially on I think this was on a crop camera, is not a wide angle lens. And I thought it was more powerful than the color. I'll show the color. This is the color one. I liked it. I like the black and white one better, and that's why.
Me too. One. Yeah, me too. The color image shows off too much skin tone from the person that's behind the girl. So there's a person that's kind of right there at the nape of her neck that you can see kind of laughing or doing something. Probably my only creative suggestion here, Mike, would have been to straighten the image, because it is leaning forward. You can see this pole that's right here in front of her is kind of leaning to the left. Yeah. And I probably would have straightened that up. What that's going to do to her is that's going to tip her head just a little bit more back, making her laugh a little bit more kind of accentuated, almost like a belly laugh sort of thing going on. But I think it's great, man. I think it's a wonderful moment that you caught. And did she get the photo? Something you shared?
I shared it with her when I took it, and then when I posted it on the group's the site for the group, she didn't ask to have it printed or anything. But yeah, she saw it.
Oh, okay, cool.
And she saw both color and black and white.
Yeah, I think the black and white image is much nicer. So, and it's a decisive, it's one of those things, those moments, right, that you captured the emotion. I like the bokeh with the fence because that creates a nice negative space there. You're, technically, I mean, you caught the photo just fine. doesn't look like she's out of focus. It looks a little like she might have been moving a little bit, but that's fine. Motion is okay. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, there's a little motion blur, and that's okay. That's all right. She was laughing. I mean, she's moving. That's fine.
This was, if I remember right, a night game. So I was probably shooting, and Gary talked about the bokeh in the foreground. I was probably shooting a close, if not at 1.8, really close to 1.8. So there's not going to be the depth of field was pretty narrow. And I didn't put in here, I don't remember what it was, but probably the ISO was cranked a little bit because the lighting is just so awful at these games. But so there's probably a little bit of noise there, and I don't remember my shutter speed. So there might have been a little bit of movement with her too.
Yeah. The misfortune of the image is that someone's hands were right there.
Yeah.
And that's, there's nothing you could do about that. No. I mean, that's just the moment, but yeah, it's a little bit of a distraction only because it's so, this skin's so white and bright there. Might be something where you could make a slight of adjustment to the skin tone to get it to blend a little bit more, and not be so much of a contrast between her and that. But I mean, again, it just comes down to the fact that you captured a beautiful moment, and the negative space is pointing to her. You do have a little bit of conflict with the chain link dividing your image there. So have you tried to crop this down to just a portrait and see what you think?
I have not. No, I'll try that.
I mean, later, the tough part about it is that you're going to have these corner of the hands in there, Yeah. But see when you play with it, just see what you think. If this piece of chain link that you're looking at here that's in focus is distracting to you, or not. And you'll know it when you do the portrait crop. You'll instantly know whether or not you like it better or you don't. That would be probably my only suggestion. Straighten that up and try the crop and see what you think. Other than that, I think it's a great image. It's very joyful and shows someone having a good time, which is never a problem. So
and that's one of my tips when you're shooting any kind of sporting event. You're typically just looking at the court or the field or whatever it is. Every once in a while, especially basketball is hard because the parents are usually up in the stands and they're not isolated or whatever. But if it's soccer or something like that where you can isolate the people, take a look at that and shoot the spectator, especially younger kids. The parents are generally very emotionally involved in that game. So you can get something there. All right, that was it. So before we head out, let's talk about how you can get the show. Go over to JPEG. Well, that's not what I want. Go over to jpeg2RAW.com/subscribe, and over there you can get the show on iTunes, video large, video small, YouTube, and Vimeo. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should do that. We're getting close to, we got about 800 more before we get to 10,000. So we'd love to get to 10,000 someday. So if you're not subscribed on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. Help us get to 10,000. Then, we talked about how to get in touch with AD. Go over to the explorographer.com and all his different ways you can get in touch with him, which no longer includes Facebook. More
if you just click on the Who is AD at the top there's a nice contact form that you can at the bottom of the page, and you can just write to me. You just write to me and say whatever you want.
There you go, right there.
Throw it in there and then click I'm not a robot. Don't send your robots after me. I don't like robots. So
Norman, there's how you get in touch with AD.
Yep.
Or you can always contact me. I can pass it on too. But the easiest way is just go over to the explorographer.com and then click on Who is AD. And then, whereas we always talked about over on Patreon, what's coming up on your Patreon channel there, AD?
Nothing. I'm on vacation. So yeah, every year around the holidays, and this year we're finding it more challenging. I'll be off until Christmas. So I'm doing a Christmas special show with Janice Sullivan. We're on the 20th. We're doing a podcast, a live thing, which I'll be producing, and I'll put a link and stuff up. But yeah, right now it's just really hard with family and the holidays and travel that I'm just spent by the time that I get done with the day, and me making videos when I'm not in the right mind is not good for anybody. Right. So. Well,
go over to thecreators.com over on Patreon, search for the creators. And that's where you can become a patron of AD's, starting at $1 and going up from there. Over on the right-hand side, he tells you all the different things you get. If you're a patron, you get access, even at the $1 level, you get access to AD and his videos and lots of other things there too. Even your store, I believe, right?
Yep, it's a mishmash right now. One of the things that I want to have for by the time Christmas rolls out is a special code for all of my patrons to be able to get anything in my store basically that I have, and even the stuff that I don't have. I have some secret tools that no one else gets to have. My patrons will get access to all of that stuff too. So right now it's by request only. If you want access to my store and you want something on my store and you're a patron, even if you're only a patron for a month, as long as you're a patron, you get access to the store and my textures and brushes and presets and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and Patreon is a great way to support the artists or whoever that you enjoy their work. You want to help them out a little bit. I don't know if Scott Norris has one. He probably should get one.
Scott is in a transition right now. He's actually does so much 3D artist work and corporate art 3D artwork for people that he hasn't been teaching is difficult to find the right time to dedicate. So he's pared back on stuff that he was doing with the Arcanum. But I don't know. In the future, he may want to open that back up again, and I'm sure Patreon would work for that for sure. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, check it out and become a patron if you're interested in that. All right, so that's it for this week. We're going to head into the post-show. Thank you for submitting your images. Continue to submit the images. And thank you for coming out and watching the live show. Until next show, keep shooting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Post-show.
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 All right. With the holidays and everything coming up, what do you want to do for show?
Well, Sundays aren't a big issue for us. Okay. Big, Thanksgiving this week. We have family coming up from New York City and from downstate as well. So and they're all coming here this year. Yeah. So we're cooking for them. And Christmas, we've got to go to like 3 different 2-hour trips one way for Christmas.
Well, you want to skip next week? Because if you're gonna have family in,
yeah,
that's just a few days
next
after.
Week is probably not good, but the following week will be fine.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll send you a link. That's be the second.
Yep.
Calendar invite. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Christina, Jan, Gary, Norman, Kaylee. Kaylee was a member of the group a long, long time ago. I hadn't seen her in a while, and she's out there tonight. She's on Facebook. She was on YouTube. Now she's over on Facebook. And last time she was a member of jpeg2RAW, we didn't have this show. So she's wondering is this what jpeg2RAW is now? No, we've got 2 shows.
No, 2 shows.
2 shows. Tim is still co-host over on the jpeg2RAW show. And then AD and I, I think I don't know how we originally got to know each other, but maybe I saw your abandoned work, and from there, maybe on Google Plus. I can't remember exactly. I should write these things down, but I'm never going to.
Actually, so. I think the way we met was I was looking for podcasts to basically get my work out on, and you were on the list, and I just sent in a thing and said, "Here's my work, and tell me what you think." And you said, "Hey, here's the schedule. Let me know when you can do it."
Yeah.
So I think that's how we that first show's still out there somewhere.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
And then we started having you come back every January to do the review of the best of, and I think that's what spawned this show. That's what spawned this show. And
I think so. Yep.
And we have a lot of things that are similar. That we have a lot of interests that are the same. So speaking of which, so let me tell you where I'm at, and I'm playing. I know you're so far ahead of me, but I'm.
Well, I finished the game, Mike.
Yeah, so. I know. So what'd you say? You have like 700 hours in that game, and I'm like on hour
710. Yeah,
I'm like on 10. I'm literally, I think, at 10. So I've come across.
I don't sleep much. So.
I've come across. We're talking about Fallout. If I know we probably lose.
These poor people are like, all right, I'm out.
I know.
I'll fall out.
And if you want to get out, that's fine. And if you're wondering what my shirt is, so in my day job, I'm an accountant and I'm over IT. And a big thing that's happening in business and in a lot of areas is big data. And you hear a lot about big data and data analytics and all that kind of stuff. Our company doesn't have what I would call big data. I think our biggest database is 500 or 600 million records, which is a lot. I mean, way beyond what Excel can do. But I'm trying to build an internal data analytics team, and so been working on that for a year now. It's not easy, but we're working on it. Anyway, back to the game. So I've come across, the raiders, the regular raiders, easy to kill. I've come across legendary raiders. I no longer have my power gear. I just have like leather armor. But I do have, I think it's called a combat shotgun, and it's worth it's like 50 points when you hit somebody. And most people I hit, bam, I have 2 shots, I've got them. I'm shooting these legendary guys in the face, and they go dink. The little thing goes dink, and I'm wasting all my ammo, and I barely got them halfway.
You need a little flash up sign that says "Nerd Alert," "Nerd Alert," because what we're about to talk about is very nerdy. So, are you using VATS yet?
No. What's that? What's a VAT?
You don't know what a VAT system is? VATS?
No, I have Molotov cocktails and grenades.
No. So in Fallout, you need to learn to use VATS, which is when you hit your Q key. You're using keyboard and mouse?
I am.
Okay. So you hit your Q key, and it'll target, and it uses your action points. You can only use it like so many times. So when you level up, it's good to level up your action points because if you do that, you can use VATS like 4 and 5 times in a row. But when you come upon one of these enemies, you'll hit the Q key, and they'll light up green, and it'll go into slow time.
Okay.
And everything moves in slow motion.
I've accidentally hit that button.
You can then target specific things. So if this guy's coming at you with a club, you want to target his arm, take his arm out so he can't hit you. If he's coming at you with a gun, shooting his hands will also make it so that he can't shoot you. And your lesser power weapons then, by using VATS, will allow you to take these enemies out. And the other thing is, when you first hit VATS, if you're too far away, it'll give you a percentage of hit. Like, you'll hit this guy, maybe 34% chance to hit where you're shooting, and it'll show you up at the top exactly how much health he'll lose if you win that roll, that dice roll. So what you want to do is let these guys run right up to you as close as they can get, like they're going to attack you, and then press that button, stops time, and you'll get your target. Your targeting will be like 95%, and you know it's a guaranteed hit.
Yeah.
And then if you hit your space bar, you can execute what they call a critical, which means that you'll spend more action points, but you'll be a critical hit on this guy to take him down. So learn to use VATS. It'll help you a lot.
I need to try that. Christina says,
you also need something else.
You're gonna get something.
You also need to have a Pip-Boy, because if you don't have a real Pip-Boy, then you can't.
Where did you get that?
I built it. So then you can't, like, there. I have my own Pip-Boy.
Okay, and you built it with your 3D printer, I imagine, but it looks like
my holotape will come out if you need a holotape. There's one there.
What it looks like it has an actual screen.
It does. It doesn't. Whoops. It doesn't have. But it's got like all this stuff. It's not a real screen yet. It's going to be. But there it is. Real
That
Pip-Boy.
is incredible.
And then it's got the little. Whoops, on the wrong side because everything's backwards. It's got a little radio dial here. It goes up and down.
Did you 3D printed all this?
Nope.
Oh.
I bought it.
That is incredible.
Mike, that's not the serious thing that you need to win the game. The serious thing that you need to win the game.
Oh
is
my gosh!
Here. This is.
Is that light
Fallout.
working?
Yes, this is a power armor, and the light actually does come on, and it has sound effects. It has a voice changer.
Does that actually fit on your head?
Yes, it does. I'm not going to put it. There's the light coming on and off. So
that's incredible.
I am a complete nerd. So there you go. But yeah, it's a full helmet. This is going to get disassembled, and I'm going to age and custom paint this helmet to be a Nuka World helmet. So it'll have the Nuco logo, and then we're getting a fridge for our basement. It's a mini fridge that looks like a 50s style fridge.
Yeah.
It's red, and I'm gonna paint the Nuco World logo on it and have the helmet on top of the fridge in my new office when it gets done. So
that's incredible.
That came in the box set for Fallout 76.
Wow.
So, and since you're a brand new player and you're just into the Fallout universe, and I really want you to experience everything that is Fallout, when we get done with the show tonight, I will be presenting you with a brand new copy of Fallout 76 serial number that you can log in, and you'll have the full game and you can play online.
That is awesome. Thank you, AD.
Yeah. Hey, my pleasure, man, for all you do.
Yes, I come down here and play. I don't get down here with enough time, so that's why I only have 10 hours. But, and, you know, what happens is I get frustrated, I leave, I come back, then I kill them. It is.
So in the Fallout 76 universe, it's all online.
Yeah.
There's no NPCs in the game, so you'll actually be playing with friends. So if you go out with myself and like Walter, who plays, and Jay from England, he plays on my team, and Danielle, actually my girlfriend, plays. We're all like level 37, 38, but those who don't play a lot, like my girlfriend Danny doesn't play a lot. She's like level 10, but she goes out and hangs out with me. And if anybody gets in the way, I just, I walk in and take them all out. Because when you got a couple of higher ups on your team that have higher level weapons and whatnot, generally it's easier for you to level up, and you can kind of get comfortable with the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing, and it's done amazing things for the tourism of West Virginia. The governor of West Virginia, this game takes place in post-apocalyptic West Virginia because there's old missile silos there, and the Greenbrier Hotel, which has a full military bunker underneath it for where, that's where the president and everybody would go if there was a war. And so they have all this stuff there, and they've incorporated all of the lore of West Virginia, like the Mothman prophecies, and all of this stuff is the Snallygasters and the Grafton Monster, and it's very cool. And the governor of West Virginia has declared November 14th, which was the day that Fallout 76 was released, as National Reclamation Day. And so I just think it's fantastic that this state, which is very, this state doesn't have a lot of money.
Right.
West Virginia is struggling. They were kind of in it with Pennsylvania and kind of run over by the coal industry and left to burn, and pretty much. So I think this is awesome. If you're out there, even if you're not a Fallout fan, look into it. If you're not into Fallout, at least go to West Virginia, because it's beautiful. The people are amazing, and I hope this does great things for West Virginia and gets them the respect and money that they need, because it's absolutely gorgeous down there.
Yeah,
so
it is a gorgeous area.
Yeah,
I've only been there once as I was going to New Jersey, I think.
I've been to the state many times, and I love it every time I get down
so
there.
How are you liking the game being all online? Has it been okay? Are the servers holding up? What?
There has been, so there's a lot of negative talk about the game online, and mostly the negative talk that I see are generally from people who don't like Bethesda. And the reason why they don't like Bethesda is because they were big fans of Fallout when it was made by the original company, and then Bethesda bought the franchise and started making their own games and designing their own lore. And a lot of the original people, like film photographers, for a long time totally, just hated on it because it wasn't the original,
Yeah.
And I just think that, folks, seriously, you can love records, you can love film. I do, but I also don't disrespect the new either. And I learn to embrace the new and enjoy that too, because you know what? If you don't, you're just kind of limiting yourself. And at the end, you're going to be like, I limited myself into this little hole. And so just experience it all. I mean, and if you don't want to, that's fine too, but don't, poop on others. And that's what I think is happening right now with all the reviews.
Yeah.
Fallout. There's everybody's, oh, it's not working. This doesn't. I just put in my 76th hour into the game playing, and it has not been that bad. There's been a couple of things, mostly that I didn't understand how the mechanics of the game work. They give you these games and there's no instructions.
Right.
They're
Just
like,
learn as you go.
There, we'll figure it out. Because part of the game is figuring all this stuff out. And it's not Fallout 4, so you're not going from Fallout 4. A lot of the things, the assets in Fallout 76 are from the Fallout universe. Some of the engine stuff is from the Fallout 4 universe, but it's not the same game. It's not played the same way. And I think a lot of people coming into this think that, A, it's Fallout 5. That's what they think. So they're automatically saying, well, this is all the stuff you got right in Fallout 4. Why isn't it in Fallout 76? And they've said right along, this is not Fallout 5. This is Fallout 76. This took place before Fallout 4. It's a different game. It's online. The mechanics are different. You draw cards like in a traditional board game for your points. You can get good cards. You can get bad cards. Who knows? So people just aren't used to all of that, and I think it's too much for them. They're getting into it, and they're, and even my friend, who's a big Fallout fan, has had some things go wrong, and I've told him to try some things, and he won't try them. He's just furious, and I'm like, you're only furious because you're not trying the thing that works. And
Uh-oh. Think something just happened with... Hold on.
build your camp. You can put down your camp and build your camp there, and now you've got a home base that you can go back to. But the problem is when you log out, your camp logs out with you. So then if somebody else comes along on one of the servers, plants their camp there, and then when you go to log in, you log into their server, your camp won't set itself back down. So the problem essentially is that you log out and then log back in, and it changes the server you're on, and then your camp will come back. But it doesn't always come back the first time. Sometimes people are still too close to you or there. Mm-hmm. You have to do it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but there's no other way to do it because everybody can't have a camp in the same place.
Do they limit the number of people on one server?
Yeah, there's 24 people right now allowed on each server. They're usually full.
Okay.
Every server that I played on has been, even when we've tried to join friends, I've had to wait in a queue to get in my friend's server. So there is that. If you're not joining a friend though, it gets you right on a server. There's a free server somewhere that you can get on. But I've had to log in like 2 or 3 times. It's no big deal. You log out, you log back in. I mean, it literally takes 30 seconds to do.
Yeah.
And it's much better than losing your whole, like something you spent 3 or 4 hours building in the game, because it does take a long time to set your camp up. They even give you a blueprint method where you can build a blueprint of your camp when you're done. So if you want to move it, you can just set a blueprint down and it'll build it for you. But I like it, man. I like it a lot. I think what's really cool is that everybody's playing it a different way. You get some guys, it'll go in, like what I do in my nature, I guess, is I'll go back to the beginning part of the game and I'll find someone who's like a low level, and I'll be like, hey, come over here. I'll make you some armor so you have some armor, so you're not out there getting shot.
I'm wearing my leather armor.
Right. I'll give them a weapon to get them going. I'll give them food if they need food, because I'm a level 37. I mean, I've been around the block a little bit, and the game's a little easier on me unless I'm solo traveling and facing like level 68 and level 90 characters for the most part. But generally, if I see someone in need in the game, I help them. Other people are just going around and causing trouble. I mean, it's pretty interesting, the dynamic of what it's like. But you can block people that cause trouble. You can knock them off your server. They've done some pretty unique things. Is someone what we call grieving in video game world? If someone grieves you online, if they're just causing trouble, following you around, being a jerk. Wow, my video has stopped completely.
Yeah, YouTube. Not YouTube. Skype stopped for me a second ago, and I thought I lost
Still
you.
getting audio though.
Yeah, I thought I lost you, and then all of a sudden, boom, you came back.
Came back. So, anyways, if someone's
Although-
grieving you in the game, you basically can. You still hearing me, Mike?
I am still hearing you, but the video I'm capturing through NDI stopped. So I just
Thanks, guys.
noticed that.
Skype's probably updating in the background. But yeah,
Well-
what they do in the grieving thing is that if someone shoots you and you're like, "Hey, man, I don't want any part of this," they get a wanted wanted sticker on them, and then you can shoot them and kill them, and then they're blocked and they lose all of their stuff.
Oh wow!
So it doesn't pay to be a jerk in the game. So.
Well, hey, since your video is frozen on the, I can see you normal, but the NDI
Weird.
capture is frozen. Let's go ahead and stop the live stream. If anybody's still
right.
out there listening to us, Christina said that her husband is a machine learning nerd. Yeah, tell him we're using a product called ClickSense if you're still out there listening, and yeah, that I'm big into that right now. And she also let's see, her son plays Fallout, and her husband plays Red Dead Redemption.
I have Red Dead, and I won it. Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah. I won it from a gaming channel that I watch all the time, and I don't have a PlayStation 4. So for Christmas, I'm getting a PlayStation 4 Pro, so just so I can play Red Dead Redemption. And there's some other games, Uncharted and whatnot. They're absolutely amazing stories that I want to check out. But yeah, so thanks, guys. It was fun.
Thanks, guys. See y'all in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye. Hold on a second. Let me stop this stream.
It's weird.